Well, Digital Inclusion Week is currently underway, highlighting the need to connect more people, especially those in rural areas, to the internet. Connected Nation is a nonprofit organization developing strategies to close the digital equity gaps in communities across the country. So joining us now from our Washington, D.C. News Bureau is Connected Nation Vice President of Government Affairs, Brent Legg. Brent, thanks for taking the time to join us today. First of all, tell us, how is Connected Nation working federally to help rural communities?
Well, our organization cares very passionately about closing the digital divide, and unfortunately, many of the areas that still lack quality broadband access are rural areas across the country.
Now,
so a lot of our efforts in Congress and with this administration is to ensure that policymakers actually know where those broadband coverage gaps are and are implementing policies, particularly funding policies, to help bring broadband to areas that don't have it. Unfortunately, the information the federal government currently has on where broadband is and isn't is still somewhat lacking, and that's where a major area of focus of ours is. We know that the Congress just made a down payment on the president's infrastructure plan, providing $600 million to USDA to provide in the form of loans and grants to rural communities to expand broadband. We want to make sure that that money and the money that is provided through the Federal Universal Service Fund is well spent and making sure that the areas that truly need access to those dollars have it.
Now, we've heard earlier this week that mapping is key to getting help for farmers, rural towns, and also others. Why is that?
Well, unfortunately, the federal government, specifically through the FCC, collects data by what is known as the unit of measure of census blocks, which means that essentially broadband service providers report to the FCC on which census blocks they're providing service. Unfortunately, in rural areas where the broadband challenge exists, those census blocks are very large. And so if even one household in a rural community is reported as having access, then that entire census block is considered as being served, making that census block likely ineligible for some of the federal dollars that could be available to support build-out. So what we're trying to do is improve mapping so that more granular data specific to the street address or land parcel can be collected so that truly we can define at a granular level where service is and isn't.
It certainly highlights the need for folks to fill out their census, including the Census of Agriculture that was recently put out.
Yeah, any data collection efforts that the federal government is undertaking, it's very important for people to participate.
Well, how can Connected Nation's experience be leveraged to help connect more communities?
Well, we believe we've come up with a solution to actually improve data collection. We are working on a bill in Congress as we speak that would actually make it possible for the FCC to collect more granular service provider data. We're also supporting efforts through Senator Wicker's and Senator Klobuchar's Precision Agriculture Connectivity Act, which focuses on precision agriculture and all of the robotics and sensors and monitoring equipment that makes it possible to efficiently farm in rural areas. That technology is rapidly evolving, but of course it relies on a broadband connection, a good quality broadband connection. And so that, again, that's why our mapping efforts are important, to make sure that we fully understand where that service is and isn't, so that those technologies can benefit rural areas in the same way that urban and suburban communities are able to benefit.
All right. Well, Brent, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate the insight. Connected Nation Vice President of Government Affairs, Brent Legg, joining us, of course, from our Washington, D.C. News Bureau. You can learn more at connectednation.org.